Welcome back, U.S. History students. Hope everyone is doing well this week. We're going to be picking up looking at some topics within the 1960s. Your first assignment this week was that Ed puzzle that kind of focused on the 1960s. And that Ed puzzle did a really good job kind of pulling together the different topics we've been talking about in this marking period. All right, it touched on the civil rights movement, it touched on aspects of the Cold War, touched on kind of some disputes and disruption that are occurring within American society during the 1960s. And today we're going to look at one of the more influential programs created during the 1960s within the United States. Okay, so our aim for today: how can we identify the goals of the Great Society programs and determine multiple perspectives regarding the impact of these programs? Okay, so what we're doing today is twofold. We're going to be identifying what the goals of the Great Society programs were, and then we're going to try to look at a couple of different perspectives surrounding these government programs. A lot of times when we've studied government programs this year, we have looked at both perspectives surrounding them. We will continue with that today, looking at the Great Society. So the do now is it's open-ended. You can take whatever route you want with it, but you're trying to think of three things that should be present within a great society, in your opinion. So if you hear this term, Great Society, on your document, you're just going to be listing what are three things you would expect to see for that society to be great. Okay, so you're going to come up with those three attributes, three aspects on your own. We'll come together and hit fast facts when you are done. Okay, so our fast facts today. All right, so we're getting the what. The Great Society was a set of domestic programs. So remember, domestic meaning within the U.S. In the United States, that was launched by Democratic President Lyndon B. Johnson, a lot of times referred to as LBJ, in the mid-1960s. All right. The main goal was the elimination of poverty and racial injustice. Okay, so Lyndon B. Johnson is the vice president for John F. Kennedy. Once John F. Kennedy is assassinated, Lyndon B. Johnson takes over. He's actually elected to a second term, and he creates this Great Society program. And really, the Great Society is focused on, first off, the elimination of poverty. Okay, trying to eliminate what Lyndon B. Johnson sees as ever-growing poverty within America. And it's also trying to kind of still stem out, get rid of racial injustice. We talked about last unit, the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Lyndon B. Johnson's pointing out that there still is a lot of work that needs to be done to eliminate racial injustice. As we said before, all right, bullet 2 is just reiterating those main goals. All right, elimination of poverty, elimination of racial injustice. One comparison we see for the Great Society programs is that a lot of times they're compared to the New Deal programs that were created by FDR. All right, one major difference: the New Deal we studied comes as a result of the Great Depression. It's programs that are trying to get people back to work, trying to get the economy stimulated, trying to improve the economic situation of the U.S. The Great Society is formed in not as much of a dire economic situation. The Great Society is much more focused on those social issues that are still plaguing the United States, but it also does take on an economic tone in trying to get rid of poverty. All right. A lot of these spending programs in the Great Society dealt with education, medical care, urban problems, and transportation. All right. A lot of the problems in urban areas that are focused on are housing, access to strong educational opportunities, access to medical care, and also trying to increase the opportunities for better transportation for individuals. Okay, we see that a lot of the debate over these programs centers on people that view it positively. They have a kind of pro view of the Great Society programs, while others argued that they were negative. And a lot of the arguments are very similar to the New Deal. A lot of the arguments against the Great Society program focus on the amount the government is spending on these programs. It costs a lot of money to start and operate these programs. So a lot of people say the government is overstretching their power. They're spending too much money, while a lot of people who argue the positive stance of the Great Society program really emphasize that these programs are trying to elevate groups who have been historically suppressed throughout U.S. History. Okay, so what you're going to be doing today, once we have that little background, we'll go to our document. You'll see the first part of our task is going to be looking at a speech that's delivered by Lyndon B. Johnson, where he's talking about what the Great Society program means to him. What does a Great Society look like? What does that encapsulate? All right, he's going to be explaining this program in this speech, and this speech really kind of serves as the platform for what the Great Society program becomes. You have the speech, you have analysis questions below. Remember, first thing we're doing, read our questions. Second thing, if I can write it too, we want to create a sentence starter. Third, we're going to the text. We're underlining, pulling out answers, plugging it in. Okay, we want to be following those text analysis steps. Okay, the second thing that you're going to be doing, you're going to scroll down and you'll see you have this table. All right, and you have two rows. There's a pro row, and there's a con row. If you scroll down more, you'll see that there are two viewpoints. All right, there's a pro viewpoint. All right, this author is going to be arguing for why the Great Society programs were a positive. Okay, so you're going to be filling in these various columns using this pro source. Similarly, how do you do the first row? You're going to follow those same steps for the second row. You have this con row. If you scroll down even further, you'll see, okay, that another historian is going to be arguing why, in his eyes, the Great Society program was a negative, okay? You're going to be filling in the information in this row. All right, the final step right here, you're going to be choosing a side, and it's going to be based on who you find more convincing. Do you find the pro argument more convincing, or do you find the con argument more convincing? It should not just be one sentence that this argument is better, and that's it. There needs to be details. There needs to be information from the text that supports your reasoning, okay? A lot of times we keep seeing with remote learning that students' summary tasks are on the weaker side of things. They're not being detailed. They're not explaining their ideas, and they're opting to just put a sentence and move on. All right, we really need to have a detailed response, and you're choosing a side. Think of it as an argument. All right, pick a side, argue why, in your view, that author is correct. Okay, as always, if you're confused, if you have issues, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'm available over email. You can send a message on Kinvolved, or you can type a message in the private comments, send it, and I instantly will be able to give you some feedback. Okay, as always, hope you guys are doing well. Speak with you soon.